The beginning in the alleys of Casbah in the heart of Algiers, where the scent of history and dates stored in clay pots lingered. Jamila was born in 1935. She was a quiet child whose eyes sparkled with questions about why the French forbade her people from speaking the language of the Quran in schools. One day, while helping her mother wash dishes, she heard the screams of a neighbor whose daughter had been brutally raped by colonial soldiers. She asked her mother, "Why don't we drive them out?" Her mother replied tearfully, "Oppression is fire, my child, and every fire must burn out." The first transformation. From student to revolutionary in high school, Jamila excelled in philosophy, but history textbooks glorifying Napoleon while ignoring colonial massacres in her homeland ignited her anger. One day in 1954, on her way home, she saw an Algerian man dragged through the streets for refusing to remove his turban in front of a French officer. She vowed to avenge her people her way. She joined a secret cell of the National Liberation Front, FLN, gathering intel on French military train movements, telling her comrades, "We will teach them that our blood is stronger than their cannons." The first operation. The bomb that shook Paris under the FLN's orders. Jamila planted a bomb at the Milk Bar Café, a gathering spot for French officers. Disguised as a European woman, she hid the bomb in an elegant handbag. Minutes before the explosion, she encountered a French friend who was spying for the colonizers. Jamila coldly stared at her and said, "Tell your leaders Algeria will be reborn. And we are not just numbers in your records." After the blast, French forces rushed to arrest her, but she vanished into the crowd like a ghost. The fateful meeting with Larbi Ben Mahidi. In a secret hideout, she met revolutionary leader Larbi Ben Mahidi, who smiled and told her, "You don't just carry a bomb in your hand. You carry a revolution in your heart." From that day, Jamila trained women in making explosives, often repeating, "The hand that kneads bread is capable of crafting freedom." The arrest. The day that shook the world. On April 9, 1957, French soldiers surrounded her hideout on Claude Debussy Street. She fired from a second-floor window, injuring 3 soldiers before a bullet struck her shoulder. As she collapsed, clutching a locket with her mother's photo, she whispered, "Don't cry for me, mother. My fall will create 1,000 Jamila." She was taken to Barbaroux prison, where she was tortured with electric shocks and thrown into a dark cell with dead rats. During one torture session, she screamed at her captors, "Kill me. But the day will come when you flee my country like rats." The trial. The chair that made her a legend. In the French courtroom, shackled but unbroken, her words cut deeper than blades. When the judge asked, "Why do you kill innocents?" she calmly replied, "The innocents are our children, whom you slaughter daily. You taught us that killing is an art." When the death sentence was pronounced, cameras captured a tear rolling down her cheek. Time magazine wrote, This tear will burn France more than all the rebels' bombs. Prison. The years that forged willpower in her death row cell. Jamila read the Quran by smuggled candlelight and wrote letters to her mother in her own blood. One night, hearing an Algerian prisoner tortured in a nearby cell, she yelled in French, "Beware. Every scream of ours will become a bomb in your faces." Years later, she reflected, "The Quran touched my soul. Its verses poured like rain over the fire of torture." Freedom. The day she never imagined. In March 1962, prison doors suddenly opened. A guard muttered, "You've won." She stepped into the sunlight of independent Algeria, embraced by thousands waving a green flag stained with martyrs' blood. Gazing at the sky, she whispered, "Thank you, God. You let me witness this day." Life after the revolution. The hard choice. Jamila refused political positions, choosing silent activism. When a young man once asked her secret to resilience, she replied, "It's simple. We were ready to die. So God granted us life." But she never fully retreated. During the 1988 protests in Algeria, she stood among demonstrators, shouting, "Do not fear. A people who know death cannot be caged by prisons or bullets." The final word. A legacy unburied. In her last TV interview in 2020, a host asked, "After all these years, what do you hope people remember about you?" She smiled softly. "I don't want them to remember Jamila. I want them to remember that an ordinary woman, with her Quran and her will, defeated the mightiest empire." Then, with pain and hope in her voice, "Tell Algeria's children, freedom is like a palm tree. It only grows when watered with blood." Epilogue. From a girl in Casbah to a mother of revolutionaries.